presentation on some. Hey, could everybody put their phones on mute? I thought it'd be a good idea just to have a quick presentation to discuss some tips and tricks, stuff we've learned, lobbying. It's kind of high level stuff. If you're an experienced advocate, you may know all this, but it's pretty informal. So if you have any questions, feel free. But yeah, if everyone could just make sure that they're kept on mute. So Carrie, if you want to just go over the next slide real quick.
Sure, just some high-level content. We'll go over the legislative process really quickly, some communication and lobbying tips, whether the meeting is most beneficial in Albany versus in the district, and then some grassroots action techniques, so phone calls, emails, letters, and building on relationships with your members.
Great. So if you want to go to the legislative process slide.
Yep.
So this is very high level. I'm sure many of you have seen the old cartoon, How a Bill Becomes a Law, but it's pretty standard. So first, somebody has an idea. It could be a legislator, it could be a constituent, an advocate. Somebody has an idea, and that's how the bill starts. So it would go to either the bill drafting commission, where specially trained people have to craft the bill, or an organization's lawyer could write a bill for submission as well. And once the bill is introduced, it would be, given a number, and then it would go to a committee. The committee would be whatever is relevant to the bill. If it's related to insurance, it would go to the insurance committee. If it's related to farming, it would go to agriculture, and stuff like that. So once it's in committee, the committee members, they can decide if they want to move on it. Once it comes for a vote in the committee, generally if it comes up for a vote in committee, that means it's going to pass. It means the committee chair knows it's going to pass, and it's going to move on. But they can decide to not move on it, and that it can just die in committee. This is a great opportunity for lobbying. If you contact the committee members, you contact the committee chairs, this is a great time to discuss the bill, to let them know why you like it or you don't like it. But assuming the bill does get passed out of committee, it will go onto the calendar. This is the same, by the way, pretty much the same for both the Senate and the Assembly. It has to sit for 3 days on the legislators' desks. So that means 3 days aging before it can come to the floor. Then if they decide that it should come to the floor, that there's an opportunity for amendments. So either the bill sponsor can put in official amendments through bill drafting, or anybody can actually offer up an amendment, and that would go for a vote. Once the bill is actually set to be voted on, that would be opened up for debate, for explanation, the whole parliamentary procedure. Moving on, it could be voted down, but most bills that do come to the floor for a vote do come so knowing so that it's going to pass. I'm assuming it passes, it would go to the other house. So if it passed the Assembly, it would go to the Senate to go through a vote, and vice versa. If it passes the Senate, it goes to the Assembly. And if it passes both houses, it goes to the governor. The governor can either sign it or veto it, or the governor can just sit on it, which will be a pocket veto. So moving on. All right, just some brief lobbying tips. So oftentimes you'll get a staff member instead of the actual legislator. Some people get offended by this or annoyed. I personally, I think it's pretty beneficial. The legislators themselves, clearly, they're decision makers, and if you have an opportunity to sit down with them, that's fantastic. But their staff members are vital to their team. They're in their ear. They're the ones helping craft and shape policy. Sometimes you'll get a front-level staffer. I personally prefer to meet with their lawyers, their chief counsel. I find the counsels are, have a strong attention to detail. But whoever you get, they're in the elected officials, their ear, and take the opportunity to meet and have a great meeting with whoever you meet with. So obviously, you need to have an appointment. I saw a senator's calendar yesterday, and it was absolutely crazy. They are booked nonstop, so you have to try as early as possible to get a meeting, and frankly, just expect to wait. You get there, don't be offended, but they're often, their meetings go over. It's okay, just be patient. They'll get into you eventually. So you really have to make sure that you do your research before the meetings, and you want to bring materials. I find it's helpful to bring some in-depth materials that show background and in-depth information that you leave with them, but then maybe like a one-page talking points where can hand to them and you can go over in the meeting. Just some bullets so you keep the meeting and the conversation on track. To that point, make sure you get to the point. Again, a theme of this is the time is extremely valuable. You want to get everything relevant in as quickly and as succinctly as possible, but you want to do so in terms of your patients. Frankly, they don't really care about your bottom line or how it affects, legislation affects your practice. They care about how this affects their constituents, which are your patients. So anything you're talking about, I think it's best to really relate to the actual patients themselves. And you don't want to be argumentative. You want to discuss with facts. Make sure you know what you're talking about. Make sure you can back up your arguments and your points. And they may refute your arguments or your points, but again, you just want to keep on track and don't argue with them. You never want to argue. Just discuss and use the facts. Again, make it personal. Having anecdotes or real-time examples are very helpful. They humanize the issue, and at the end, I find it helpful to get a firm commitment of support. When I go to the doctor, I like leaving understanding what's wrong with me if something is. I hate leaving not knowing what the next steps are. I find it the same with an advocacy or lobbying meeting. If you don't get a feeling from them or actual verbal commitment one way or the other, you can just ask, do you support this? Which way do you think you're going? I don't know how your colleagues feeling about this. Don't feel like you can't ask. So next slide, please. Okay, I think you got this one.
Yep. So when you're going into a meeting, let them know who you are and who you're representing, whether you're on there or you're in the meeting just representing yourself or your hospital or your practice. And it's important to let them know that you're a constituent or if you work in their district. And come prepared. It's important to come prepared with a few topics that you want to talk about. Try to think ahead of time of what questions they may have so you can prepare the answers. But on the same token, try to be brief and concise. Like Mike mentioned, you are probably one of many, many meetings during that day, so you want to be memorable. The key to speaking with legislators is to maintain the relationship with them. So follow up with emails or phone calls, offering some additional information. If the legislator asks for some information during the meeting that you don't have on hand, make sure you get that to them as soon as possible because they care and they want to know. Calling your member's office is another great means of communication. More than likely, you won't be able to speak with the member directly, so ask for their legislative director or their legislative assistant and leave as much information as possible. And get to the point. Say what you have to say and make sure you can relate it back to your practice and your patients. Share some anecdotes like Mike mentioned so you can put the conversation into context. And importantly, avoid talking about specific fundraising events or any contributions that you have made to the member or their party. So meeting in Albany versus in district is up to you, but meeting during session in Albany is probably most effective. Coming to the meetings with a group shows the importance and the magnitude of your issues you're discussing, but try not to come with more than 2 or 3 people. You don't want to make the member feel uncomfortable or outnumbered, and most of the offices can only fit a few people anyway. Try to make your trip to Albany worth it, so schedule a few meetings with some different legislators so you get the biggest bang for your buck. By coming to Albany, you may make it to a member in time before an upcoming vote or before an important action is taking place, which is one of the benefits of coming directly to Albany. However, meeting sometimes in district is more convenient. So you're more likely to have a little bit more time with the member, and legislators particularly appreciate it when constituents attend events in their district. And it's great when a physician can forge a relationship with a member in district and then build off of it in Albany.
All right. You have the next slide, Carrie?
Yep.
Okay, so politics, it should come as no surprise that politics, policy, legislation is all about relationships. It's just like life. People want to help you if they like you. I don't know if this is a bad metaphor, but I think of it as like preventive medicine. Even if you don't have something you specifically want to talk about with a legislator, it doesn't hurt to just kind of reinforce your relationship with them. It's again, they're humans. They like helping people that they can like. Now, clearly, having a compelling case and something that needs to actually happen is the most important part. But relationships are key, not only to getting things done, but even to get a meeting or to get put in front of the right person. So you want to have as much personal communication and face-to-face exchange as you can. It's okay to be persistent. I leave it up to your judgment to walk the line between being annoying and being persistent. But again, it's repetition is the mother of retention. They like seeing your face, especially if you're a constituent of theirs. Leverage mutual contacts if you have any. Politicians are used to random people coming up to them, talking to them. Don't feel weird about striking up a conversation or just trying to become friends with them. You always want to be honest, consistent, and available. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to advocacy. You may not always be on the same side as they are on an issue, but they'll learn to trust you and respect you if you're always honest and always consistent. Again, as we said, do your research, and it's good if they know your face and your name and your voice and they're familiar with you. I guess I was channeling Aretha Franklin here with the RESPCT, but just, again, they are humans, and you can talk to them like humans, but you want to be respectful and realize they are in a position of authority, and just make sure that you're respectful about the way you talk to them. And again, as we said before, making it about the actual impacts. You want to focus on the actual interests, not the actual positions. If that doesn't make sense, I can always explain later, but just try to make it as personal, as memorable as possible. Next slide, Gary.
So the Grassroots Action Center is one of MSSNY's strongest advocacy resources. The GAC serves as your link to the latest legislative issues and provides actions to take on behalf of physicians. So if you go to the GAC site, you can pick a topic that we have already written letters for, and all you have to do is plug in your name and a little bit more information, and then the template, the letter will pop right up, and it's already written, so you can edit it. You can put in some anecdotes if you want to personalize it, or you can just send it right as it's written. And it also pops up with some links where you could tweet at a legislator, you can Facebook the legislator, or you can even just share it with your friends on Facebook and Twitter and encourage them to send a letter as well. So as always, we like to talk about the PAL, the Physician Advocacy Liaison. It's a grassroots activism network where physicians can build new relationships with legislators or strengthen existing ones. And then we have some calls to action where we ask you to write letters or phone calls and attend events, whether it's in Albany or in district, and represent you, yourself, your practice, and the medical society as well. So next week, next Wednesday, March 6th, is our annual Physicians Advocacy Day at the Lewis Swire Theater at the Egg in Albany. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions and hear from different legislators like Assemblyman Cahill, Richard Gottfried, the new chair of the Senate Health Committee, Gustavo Rivera, and it will follow with a luncheon, and then there are also some meetings set up in the afternoon that you can contact your county medical societies to get the schedule for and participate. So if you'd like to come, and we really hope that you do, you can go to www.mssny.org/lobby day and register, and we hope to see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll definitely echo that. We can't say enough how important it is for the legislators to see you there. You are an expert in the field. You know these issues. You know what you do, so you can use that to your advantage. And not just blowing smoke here, but doctors are consistently ranked as one of the most, if not the most respected profession. People like hearing from you, and the legislators will trust it coming from your mouth. Again, they can't be experts in everything, They have people coming to them about anything from, a tax bill, to renaming a post office, to a pothole, to issues like we're dealing with. But they do want to understand their constituents, and they do want to know how to make their districts better. And you can help them do that by informing them about what we can do to make the law and policy in the state better. You guys should be, I think, working with and building relationships with people all day, every day as doctors. This is your area of expertise, so just use that to the best of your ability. Send it to people in your community, building networks with the politicians friends, the people in the local committees, things like that. And just, do what you can to give back to your profession and help advocate for physicians. So that is our presentation and our discussion. As always, you can always feel free to contact me for questions or concerns. We should be posting a copy of this presentation soon. We did hope to have a part of it that was, we're speaking with the senator, having like a Q&A session, what he likes to see from advocates and lobbyists, what he doesn't like. Unfortunately, due to weather and scheduling conflicts, we weren't able to get that done before today. So assuming we can get that done tomorrow, we'll append it to the end of the presentation. But does anybody have any questions for us? Okay. Well, I will take the silent. Yes.
Mike and Carrie, it's Mo. How are you? Do you want to say anything about navigating the security lines?
Yes, actually, it's yeah. So when you come to the Capitol, first of all, try to not bring huge amounts of stuff with you. The lines at the Capitol, there's like 6 entrances. There's 2 entrances to the Capitol on both sides. You go into the legislative office building, etc. But there's a process you can follow. It's kind of like when you go to the airport. You have to take your watch off. You have to take your belt off. If you have an overcoat on, take your overcoat off. Any electronics have to be out of a bag or out of a briefcase. So the security guards are very friendly and they'll walk you through it. But it's extremely busy. So if you can be prepared, just do everything you can to expedite the line. That would be really fantastic. And again, the security guards are inundated with lobbyists and advocates all day. So don't get frustrated with them if the lines are slow or they ask you to empty your pockets or anything like that. Just be patient.
Another question, do you think it would be a good idea for doctors to wear something that identifies them as physicians?
I certainly do. If you have a pin, I'm not sure. Carrie, maybe you can answer this better.
Sure, yeah. We really like when the physicians wear their white lab coats. It kind of makes a really big and loud statement, and it's obvious who you are and who you're with and what you're doing there. So if you can, please bring your white coat with you.
That is a fantastic idea. I know that I feel reassured when I see a doctor in a lab coat. So, Mo, any other things we forgot?
No, I think you guys have done a great job covering all the issues.
Awesome. We hope to see a lot of you next week. Just throughout the year, please keep just doing everything you can to build those relationships. It really is. It's a long game. Somebody now may be in a low-level position, and they could eventually be the governor of the state. So you have no idea what decisions or relationships you're building now, how they can help you in the future. That being said, I hope everybody has an awesome night, and we'll talk to you all soon.